So this step is probably the most important step, and that's fitting the mag to the receiver. Actually fitting the mag clearance with the trunnion. So what I've done here is I've used two number 8 screws to screw the trigger guard into the bottom of the receiver. And you're probably saying, well, you know, why would I do that? I'm going to rivet it in the first place. Well, here's why. Loosen this up here, you'll notice that you can actually get some movement up and down there. You know, it's probably only about 20 thousandths or so, maybe if that. But it's enough to where the if you're setting this thing in the jig, what can happen is it will, depending on where you set it, it will actually affect your mag fit. So what you want to do is basically decide, okay, am I going to have this thing pulled back all the way or push forward all the way when I set it in the rivet jig, and you can have it set that way when you are fitting the mag. So I push it all the way forward. That way I can tend to actually get the mag or the trunnion flush with the front of the receiver. So we'll start by fitting the trunnion into the receiver, and if you just feel with your finger along here, sometimes you can feel it's not quite flush. I start off by kind of just feeling it out with my finger, getting it kind of flush there, right on there like that, and using a clamp to hold it in place. You don't need to destroy the thing putting that on there, just enough pressure to, I mean, get it snug, but, you know, so it won't move, but that's about it. You're not trying to dent the receiver here. So, and then just see how it fits. What you're looking for is back and forth movement in here, and there really isn't much. You don't want it to be really tight either. What you don't want is a lot of clearance on this side either. There's a little bit, but that's pretty good right there. So, see if I can take a little more. You'll know when you have too much. It really varies from receiver to receiver. And that's about as good as it gets with this one right here. So, there you have it. Now it's time to rivet the trigger guard in place. This is a AK Builder rivet jig. Pretty well made. I've already placed the rivets in. There's no big secret to that. Just put the rivets through the holes. The only trick is the rear rivet. You'll notice there's a slightly shorter rivet in the kit. If you get the AK Builder kit, those are the only ones I use, just because I know they work. So let's do this. These are the front ones. You'll also notice there's two beveled head rivets in there. These aren't them. Those are for the front trunnion, so don't use those. Just make sure you use standard four standard rivets here and one short one there. So I find it's easier to put this on upside down, like so, and then just flip it over. Just make sure you line up the back here. And take this little guy here, slide him in. I always do the front first. So, and before we get started here, another reminder, always use these. If you're not planning on using these, turn this video off because you're a retard. Nothing will ever replace your eyes. So the trick here is not to obliterate the heads of these rivets. The trick is just to deform them enough to get them to do the job. You smash them down too flat, they will just look silly. So what I usually do is I just get a little pressure on the tool head there. Just enough to kind of hold it in place. And center them up on the rivets. The plate's sometimes not quite wide enough to get all 4 rivets at once, so what I do is I smash it down and then just take a second pass at the other side. That's good enough too. So remember we had the when we were fitting it with the screws, we had the trigger guard pushed all the way forward. So I'm going to push the receiver back a little bit. Again, it's not much. I mean, and it may not even be necessary. I could just be being picky about this, but you know, that's kind of my personality. Alright, here we go. Alright. Now, a second pass. Move this block over and slide up over to the other side of the receiver a little bit. Just kind of flatten out so it doesn't leave a nice little ridge there. And then the easy part, we'll just do the rear rivet. So, the rear rivet requires considerably less force than the front, because you're only doing 1 as opposed to 4. So, just kind of watch it while you're doing it. And don't, you know, if you try hard enough, you can make that rivet go so flat that it will actually be almost flat with the receiver. So, that's it. That's all that takes. Voila! Four rivets in the front, 1 in the rear.